almost at the end of our conference, and we're gonna now talk a little bit about yoga post-pandemic and how yoga can help you to overcome challenges and bring unity in diversity. And this little conversation is going to be done by Lakshmi and I. If you haven't met Lakshmi, it's because she has been really, really busy with helping us to get all those beautiful videos together. And so I would like to show my gratitude to these amazing ladies who has been helping me to get together those videos. Otherwise, I would not be able to do it. And you guys would not have the chance to see all these beautiful things that you have seen. So thank you so much, Lakshmi, for being here and now helping with this little conversation that we're going to have. So when we had the idea about having the conference, of course, we thought about it being online. And I think that the last 17 months have been different months for everyone. And it's going to be something that we're going to possibly remember for the rest of our lives. And it's going to be something that we're going to talk to our grandkids and people at the time that we have this pandemic in the whole world. And at this point, I'm very, very happy that we had the courage and the creativity to be able to start offering yoga online. I have never thought about a best time to have yoga than at this time. And I think that the pandemic brought people together online, and we found new ways of communicating with people. And as we know, COVID, it has effect, especially on your respiratory system. The reason why a lot of people were dying in the beginning is because the level of oxygen went down and they need respirators and other things. And at that time, they didn't have enough to help everyone, right? And some people had it not so bad, and other people had it really bad. And I actually know people that are here that had COVID or have someone who knows who had COVID. And some people overcame, and some people are no longer here with us. One thing that we have to keep in mind, especially I'm talking not just about teaching post-COVID, but teaching people who had COVID. And there is a search saying that more than 1/3 of COVID patients may experience long COVID symptoms. So sometimes you don't have, like, it doesn't feel really bad, but you have fatigue and brain fog for 3 to 4 weeks. And some other people can have that up to 6 months after the diagnosis of COVID. And it especially affects women, which are most of the yoga population nowadays, elderly people, and people with severe illness are more likely to have severe symptoms on the acute phase, and also to have the long-term COVID symptoms. And some other of those symptoms are chest pain, difficult in breathing, muscle pain, anxiety and depression, fatigue, other kinds of pain, abdominal symptoms, headache, and cognitive symptoms. And those can be up in 40% of the people up to 3 months. And 37% of people can have from 3 to 6 months. And 60% of people can have up to 90 days of those symptoms, and they come on and off. When I took my COVID shot, what I thought was that whatever was going into my body, it was just enhanced by like 100. And I could feel whatever was going on inside of me really big. I'm going to the process of menopause at this point, and I was just feeling this heat waves and then feeling cold and heat waves and feeling cold. And I think that possibly that happens with some of you if you either had COVID or had the COVID vaccine. Now, my point here that I would like to make is that one of the symptoms that has been very common is anxiety and depression. Depression, depression. And I would say that the anxiety and depression has not been only among people who had COVID, but among everyone. Because we have been living in a time that everyone got anxious. What COVID brought to us is this sense of fear. It went enhanced into everyone. I'm afraid of getting, and we have with yoga a way to try to regulate that and bring that from our limbic system, from the amygdala. We allow the, let's say, the prefrontal cortex to talk. There is a conversation going on back and forth, which is the instinct and the reasoning thing. And if you allow the limbic system to just take over, you are going to go into depression. You are going to go into a lot of anxiety. And what yoga helps us with is that it helps with that reasoning. It helps us to calm, as we have been talking a lot during the whole conference. It helps to calm down the central nervous system by activating the parasympathetic nervous system. And will help people to regulate and to deal with whatever is going on much better. But people who already have anxiety, people who already have a tendency to get depression, the pandemic leveled that up. And I don't know for you, but I have been hearing a lot about not only the polyvagal theory, but I have been hearing a lot about trauma. And there's a lot of people talking about trauma and talking about collective trauma. And I think there was a mix, especially talking about collective trauma. It was a mix of the COVID itself and some events that happens during COVID that start at the same time lighting up things in people, which maybe if there was no COVID, that would pass because we're so busy doing something else that we don't pay enough attention. And in that regard, in my opinion, the COVID helps to raise that awareness. And that awareness that I'm talking about is the awareness of what happened here in the United States with Floyd. And the whole thing that has been talking about now, that everyone is talking about, bringing the awareness that Black Lives Matters and people have the same rights, and we should be understanding people by who they are and not the color of the skin they have. And we actually heard that a long time ago. There's someone very famous that said, I have a dream that people were valued not by the color of the skin that they have, but by their character, by who they are. That has been it's a long time ago. I don't know if you guys have heard about Martin Luther King. I'm teasing, of course you do. But that has been something that has been a dream. And I think that now there's a little bit more awareness of that. And the pandemic has also brought us to a conversation raising awareness against racism, not only with the Black people, but also with people of color. And there is a whole movement called BIPOC, that is Black, Indigenous, and People of Color movement, allowing and inviting those people into our community and trying to make them feel home. And when we are talking about that, I was talking about this with Lakshmi, and I said, and I know her story, And I said, Lakshmi, I would love you to talk a little bit about that because we have been talking so much about diversity and we have been talking about the world, and we're trying to open up and empower those kids with special needs. And we need to not only empower the kids with special needs, but also acknowledge and feel like we're embracing everyone. Doesn't matter what is their sex choice, doesn't matter who they love, doesn't matter what color they have, and doesn't matter how many abilities they have. But we embrace and we love them because they are human beings. I'm gonna pass to Lakshmi now, and then we'll see if I'll go back.
Thank you so much, Renata. And I know most of you here, and some of you know my story, and some don't. So I think that's the I should begin just by saying who I am and what's my story. So I was born in the 70s in Spain. I'm that old, even if I don't look like it. And in Spain in the 70s, there were no black people. And not only that, my father was the black one in my family, and I never met him. So I was the only black one in the family, the only black one in the school, the only black one in the neighborhood, the only black one wherever I go. I was the only black one. And did I notice from the very beginning that I was different? No. When you are a kid, you don't pay attention to those differences because everybody's different. So you just observe and you just get surprised by everything, and everything is different. And the moment that I noticed that there was something wrong with me, because that's the feeling I got, is when one guy just insulted me and he called me that N word. And the sad thing is that that guy was my best friend. So the summer before, he was my best friend. Next summer, I went to meet him, and he just received me with that. And for me, that was like, I don't understand what's going on. So I went crying home, and I talked to my aunt, and I say, I don't know what's going on. Why he's treating me like this? Why he told me that? And my aunt told me, okay, next time he does that to you, you just said to him, maybe I'm coffee with milk, but you are whiter than milk. And then I did that because, of course, he insulted me again. And I did that, and it worked. So he didn't expect me to react that way. So he went back home and he became like one of my enemies from that when I was like very little. And it's the first time that I experienced that I was different. And not only different, it's like in your head you think that you are less than the other people, because when I look around, I saw no one that was just like the same color of me, hair like mine. So I remember that it was like a torture, because this hair in Spain in the 70s, with no conditioner, with no nothing, not even like combs to comb this hair. For me, and it was my grandmother who used to take care of it. My hair was short like this. So I look around, and all the girls around were with those straight hair and beautiful long hair. And for me, just that moment of combing my hair was a torture. So I started to, of course, say or think there is something wrong with me, and I don't want to be. Why I have to be like this? Why I have to be different? Why? Just imagine, those were like straight hair, blonde hair. Of course, I was not interested in those because I didn't feel like I didn't identify with them. In on TV, on nowhere, not even in your family. On TV, when you saw something, black people were thieves or slaves. So there was always something wrong. So you start to get that feeling of you are less than the rest of the people. There is something wrong with you. and uh, and you grow with that. And I don't want to say that I was like I didn't have like a happy childhood. I was very happy. I had a lot of friends, and now when I talk with them, they always tell me, because you were the only one black that I knew. I mean, I never knew no one just like you, and I can, and it was just like that because it's what I experienced. And uh, of course, I was not interested in princess costumes or things like that because princes were supposed to be blonde and white and blue eyes, and I never saw a princess with short hair and curly hair like it didn't make sense to me. So being the different one always, it's something that you keep there, but at the end you get used to. It's like, okay, I'm the different one always. And I have an anecdote when I first went to Rio de Janeiro with the plane, and I was there, and it was supposed to be like a city that you need to be careful because it might be dangerous. Okay, I was feeling like home. I was like, here, I can just go in the street and no one is it's paying attention on me. It's like, if people even ask me about streets, and I was like, I don't even speak the language. So, and I even took the bus because it was so fun to just be just one more. And I have that feeling that just every single white people has got always. So and I was in Rio, so I could experience that the feeling of being just like invisible, like no people is going to pay attention to you. So when Renata told me to talk about this racism panel and yoga, I say, okay. So because we spoke about it and we say, oh, black people is not interested in yoga. So why is this happening? And uh, and because for me, yoga, it was like when you have got a trauma, you don't need to be abused or these things create you a trauma, okay? And yoga was what helped me to little by little facing that and little by little accepting it. And I remember Renata in one training, she told me, because I never liked like back bendings. It, for me, it's like I always avoid to do them. And she told me maybe it is something emotional there. You should check. And I checked, and it was just that, like not feeling part of your family. It has to do with the past, and it was just that. It was just through yoga and through uh, waking up and activating the parasympathetic system that you little by little start to, it's not that the world around is going to change, you are the one who changes, and you are the one that accepts that, okay, this is the way it is. And you know what, at the end it was a gift to be different, because I can feel now when I'm going any place, I don't see color. It's like a tree, and different leaves has got different colors, and all together in unity they make that tree beautiful. And I think this is what we are looking for in this world, like all together with our differences, because at the end we all are different. It will be so boring to be all just the same. Just imagine. So it's perfect to be different. I had a video prepared that I totally forgot when I started to speak. So I'm going to share it, and because it talks about racism, and I think it's going to make you think. A ver, ¿dónde estás? Wait a moment. Okay, I don't find it here. Maybe here. Okay. Okay.
forget to share your audio also.
Yeah. A ver, here. I don't know where it is. Let's see if it is here. Yeah. Let's see if you can listen to it.
Why do we hate?
We hate because we're taught to hate. We hate because we're ignorant. We are the product of ignorant people who have been taught an ignorant thing, which is that there are 4 or 5 different races. There are not 4 or 5 different races. There's only one race on the face of the earth, and we're all members of that race, the human race. But we have separated people into races so that some of us can see ourselves as superior to the others. We thought it would work, I guess. It hasn't worked. It has been bad for everyone. But it's time to get over this. There is no gene for racism. There's no gene for bigotry. You're not born a bigot. You have to learn to be a bigot. Anything you learn, you can unlearn. It's time to unlearn our bigotry. It's time to get over this thing, and we best get over it pretty soon. I'm an educator, and it is my business as an educator to lead people out of ignorance. The ignorance of thinking that you're better or worse than someone else because of the amount of a pigment in your skin. Pigmentation in your skin has nothing to do with intelligence or with your worth as a human being. It's time to get over that.
So that was the video. And now that you mentioned about BIPOC, I think it's the pronunciation, Black and Indigenous People of Color. Oops, sorry. One moment, I'm going to stop this. And now that you mentioned that, I don't think it's the solution to find another label to just label more people. We have so many labels. The solution is just to respect people just the way they are. And I have a picture. It's in Spanish, but you are going to understand what I'm talking about. So this is the picture, and it is related with yoga for the special child. And it says, how should I name him? Disabled, people with disability, and the guy in the wheelchair say, my name is Alberto. So we need to reach that point when you just see people, just the name. We don't need more labels. Labels are made to separate us. And we need to think that from the very beginning, there is people in the power that they need us to be separated because it's the way to control us. If we are united, maybe they will never be there in the power. And those people were the people that went to Africa, to the Black people, to make them slaves, the strongest one to bring them to America. And of course, there is a trauma in that people of color or Black people, of course. And even if you haven't experienced that situation, the trauma could be from older generation. That
Oops, Lakshmi, you're frozen. While she gets back, I'm just gonna jump into what she was saying. I think it's very meta. For me, I agree with her. It's the same. I think that we should just see people as people. There we go. Are you back? We can't hear you. You're frozen. Where is she? All right, you're back. You're mute on both screens, though.
here I am.
There
So
you go.
when I started to search about that, I found out that yes, Black people is very interested about yoga, but about Black yoga, so BIPOC yoga. So it is more about there are plenty of retreats for Black people, teacher training for Black people, BIPOC classes, and there are Instagrams like Black yoga teachers that have got plenty of followers. So what they don't want is to just feel like I felt when I was a little girl, the different one on the room, because if you don't have any other opportunity, like it was my case, you live with that and you accept it, that at the end you are going to go beyond that. But if you have the opportunity to feel like in your space with your community, and I totally understand what is happening, because yoga is a wonderful tool to help you to overcome all those traumas. And maybe one day it will be possible to be all together, but before, I think it's maybe safer to be just separate. And once I have the tools and maybe be able to go to a yoga class with white people, and also the idea of yoga class that we have in studios, all with white people, I don't think this is interesting for Black people. I mean, the idea of if you think about USA studios, yoga studios, all like they are expensive. We need to adapt everything, the cost. It is good to have, I think, a teacher that at least is Black, or someone that is Black there, because I'm used to be the only one everywhere, because I have no other choice. But maybe they can make their choice and just decide that they prefer to be like in their own community. And I think it will be great to hear for yoga for the special child to embrace that BIPOC community, maybe by, or maybe it could be, or maybe me or Mark or Black people, so they can feel themselves like welcome. Because maybe they are not going to be welcome if it's someone that is blonde, and even if they, and I'm not talking about now they are racist. No, now they are protecting themselves because they have a trauma and they prefer not to get exposed to that situation, because that situation, what it's going to do is to alert that sympathetic nervous system. And I think, and you mentioned about collective trauma, and that's exactly, when you mention it, I just thought about that.
Yes, and it's true, and that is what happened. I was actually talking about that. I said I don't like this, that they're creating more labels, and I don't know if you guys noticed, but the rainbow flag that represents the gays and lesbian communities too. Now they have more. They have for the trans, they have for all these different, so they're really trying to embrace everything and represent everything. And what they say is that they need representation, they need to come up in order to then be together. But right now they need that light up, they need to be brought up, they need to call people's attention, because they feel, and what you said about the collective trauma, it is something that we have that we don't even notice. Okay, and we inherit that karma, and we inherit that trauma, and we have to understand that we have a choice. We don't have to honor that trauma. We don't have to bring it with us. And that, and this is, remember when I was talking about the polyvagal and talking about things, and I think Cheryl said something about that too. Depending on what it is, it lights up the brain before you even realize. So sometimes if you are, like you mentioned about being in Brazil, and you are in Brazil and you see someone who you feel like it may be a threat, this will light up so fast that you don't have time to think straight to decide if that is a threat or not. And that's because you learn when you're little that you need to be afraid of this, you need to be afraid of that, be careful with this, be careful with that, don't walk alone, da. But it is all do's and don'ts that we learn when we're little, and that is carried upon the trauma that comes from generations behind. And we need to start undoing that, because trauma is not what happened to us in the past, but it's the way that we handle the situation right now. If you have some situation that happened to you in the past that was awful, and that sometimes you have that, some people go through things that you say, why this person doesn't have a trauma? Maybe because the person was able to handle in a different way. But if that person was able to handle in a different way, we can try to help other people to try to handle that as well and start changing that. So the generations to come won't have the same. So I think that now this pandemic and the whole thing brought that attention up, so we can, if we can't change our generations, maybe we'll be able to change the generations to come. And I see teenagers and I see the kids, they are starting to be a little bit more open with a lot of things. And my hope is that they do the same with this, seeing people not by, is, I love that, not by the what, I forgot the name now, melanina, not the how much pigmentation, thank you, how much pigmentation they have on their skin. What does it matter, you know? And I think it is something very, very important to us. And just going back a little bit on the pandemic and the COVID, and so we have two elements. We have the COVID itself that brought us a lot of anxiety, that has brought people stress. You know why you started caving in, and now you wanna get out, but you may be tired of being home and you want to get out. You want this just to end. This generates stress. And yoga, with the tools that we have been talking about, especially the more peaceful tools, exercise and moving, let's say asanas, they're very good to move the energy, but there are some subtle energies that they don't achieve. And that's why we need so much pranayama and meditation. Okay? And the way to welcome those practices is chanting, as we learned right there. If you were here on the talk about Sanskrit, you understand why it is so important, why the pranayama makes so much sense in the beginning of the practice. So bringing those practices is very important to help people to overcome all those things. So my point here is, don't just practice asana. Make sure that your practice, especially now, to help you to handle the stress or the anxiety or whatever you're going through, even if it's small. I saw a lot of people here talking about it, having the same hot flashes that I'm having. Even for the menopause itself, I'm actually having fun with the heat waves, because I'm trying to discover where the heat wave is actually coming from. I say, okay, where is it coming from exactly? How is my body reacting? Because the body is such a smart thing, okay? The body has so much wisdom. And if the body is releasing heat, there's a reason for that. So shutting it down is not gonna do the trick. We have this idea that we have to cut symptoms, and the symptoms are just clues for you what is going on. And we need to dig deeper, and yoga gives you that too. I'm not tired of saying that I have a gigantic example in my life that gives me that clue all the time. I have never met a more empowered person. I have never seen someone who has so much resilience, so much patience, so much knowledge about her own body than my own mother. I have seen her going through a lot of things, and she takes zero medication. Zero. You know what zero is? That nada. Oh. She handles and she pays attention to her pain. I'm not saying for you to do that, but I'm just saying that I have seen and I have witnessed, and I can see that she understands the wisdom of her own body. And just to shout it out, we all have that. We just need to learn to handle it with harmony, using the 5 keys that we have been talking about so much. If you really use them, you will know yourself really, really well. Lakshmi, you're frozen in one computer, but I can see you on this one, so go ahead. I'm passing to you. Yeah? Just talk. You can't hear me? Oh, now you're not frozen anymore. Oh, You're frozen again. All right. I think people are having trouble with internet today. Maybe a lot of people are coming. You don't listen, okay. Sivakama, just talk about you. So would you like to measure and put some words here while Lakshmi try to fix the internet so she can do the closing?
I believe you guys are doing a great job. I have nothing else to add. You are doing a great job.
All right. Do you guys have any questions specifically about anything that you like to hear about the practice itself, or how you think that COVID? One of the things that I would say is that shortness of breath and some, depending on the person, it can really compromise the lungs. So you have to start the breathing practice very gentle and bring that awareness back for the deep breath, for the 3-part breath, but slow, and always focus on that exhalation first so you can give the strength for the system to by itself give that nice inhalation. In your the Kapalabhati and Bhastrika, you have to do it just like you did when you start with the kids, with a few repetitions, and really observe how it feels before you can put more repetitions into it. And a lot of alternate nostril breathing, not forcing the breath. Remember not to ever strain your breath. You're back, Lakshmi, so you can, back to you. You're on mute, you can talk.
I have nothing to say.
All right, anyone has any questions? But our goal, guys, is to, with this conversation, what we would like you is to put in your head, how can I bring yoga to anyone? And how can I reach that? I know that in the previous conversation, we talked a little bit about trying to reach out for people and getting grants and things like that to be able to invite more people into yoga. For us at Yoga for the Special Child, we have always really helped anyone that we could, and maybe that's why we don't make a lot of money, but that doesn't matter. We help anyone in need. We are open, with arms open to help anyone, and I think that came because when my sister was growing up, it was really hard for my mom to be able to give her everything that she needed. And once we start having kids and working with kids at our yoga center, one of the things that we said, we're never going to not provide service to anyone because they don't have money. But that is not enough, because sometimes we have to go reach the person. And I think the best example that I would have for that is when you're working with a child that is so far away of your world, of what we want it to be. Let's say a child with autism or with attention deficit disorder. What you do, you don't start pushing the child to your level. What you do, you go to the child, and then with the child, you walk back to a middle path. So I think that somehow we have to try to reach out and try to reach those communities. And I agree with Lakshmi that maybe bringing more people of color to take our courses and try to reach that community is going to be really nice. But I would stand not only to the Black community, but also any people with color. We have been trying to reach more people in South America. We know that people in South America they don't make the same amount of money that people do here in the United States, but you just have an idea. I think the minimum wage in the United States is about $10 an hour. And in Brazil, the minimum salary for people working 8 hours a day is about $200 a month. So, and a lot of people, that's how much money they make a month. So that being said, when we teach in Brazil, we have to come to Brazilian reality. When my mom used to go to Argentina, I had to go to Argentina reality. And we are willing to get to that point, and we are just kind of putting up in the sky there that maybe we all can try to do that together and reach more people and help more and more kids around the world. Anyone has any question and suggestions? We have 7 minutes.
Well, questions or comments? You
Yes.
perhaps have comments about.
You can just raise your hand and I will unmute you. Ilavati, you want to say something? Okay. Sometimes when I see people coming with the finger close to the camera, I don't know if they're trying to open the microphone.
I think Sita wants to say something.
Come on, Sita. I mute you. Go ahead.
Hari Om. Hello. I don't know that I have anything to add. I think it was a beautiful discussion. I appreciate Lakshmi and hearing about her experiences. I think that this is a conversation that needs to be had to bring more awareness around where there are still deficits in our ability to reach communities of color, communities of people all over the globe that don't have the access to yoga due to many reasons. And I really feel very grateful that you all decided to put this conversation into the conference, because it's not just unity and diversity for individuals with specialized needs, but it's unity and diversity across color barriers, across economic barriers, across gender barriers. So thank you for having the conversation. And thank you, Renata and Lakshmi, for leading us in this conversation. Very much appreciated. Beautiful job. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Right? Cheryl Albright has something there to say.
Where is she? I don't see her. I found her. Yeah, there we go.
Might be a little echoey. I'm starting to get dizzy with the ear pods in my ears all weekend. But yeah, my assistant and I talk about this a lot, and trying to figure out how to reach out to these communities more. She's from Puerto Rico and was engaged to a woman, and we had these talks about how I'm wide open, but I'm white. And so people see that and go, well, that's just for, because I was like, well, what's the perception of yoga? Like what, asking her fiance, and she's like, it's for rich white ladies. They're not for me. They're not for, and so I was like, well, how do we break that down? And, we haven't come up with a good solution or anything, but I think just being able to be open to those conversations to try to come up with solutions. And even though it's hard, even with marketing, I was trying to think of, our current caseload, unless we're in a school, it doesn't look very diverse. And how do we reach those communities where it is for everybody? And, I know there's cultural stigma about having a child with a disability, and I understand some of that, but just being able to have an open forum and have those conversations, I think is hugely important right now. And so I definitely applaud this community for doing it. I know it's not something that we usually do, but I think those are important conversations. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Cheryl Albright, and that goes the accent as well, right? It's something that Lakshmi was talking about, the fact that she felt different. And I'm living in the United States for 14 years now, but of course I have an accent. I still have difficulty of saying your guys' TH sound, and I have to be very careful with certain words, because if I say it wrong, I'm gonna say a really bad word, and I don't want to do that. So I have to really pay attention. Like, there is one word that we say all the time, and I really make sure that I'm not saying boobs instead of breath, because breath and breast, right? There's two different things. So when I'm talking about the breath, I have to pay attention. And I know that here you guys listen to me with open heart, and then sometimes maybe you say, oh, no, you meant that. But unfortunately, in the last 5 years being in the United States, I actually start feeling a little bit about having an accent, and people kind of treating me differently because I have an accent. And so that is also something, because English is not my mother tongue, it's a different one. And sometimes I would feel that I make a phone call and people will judge me. I will not feel like I don't understand what they're saying, and they're trying to teach me what I need to do. And I say, I understand what you're saying, but that is not what I'm asking. And it is this whole thing that you feel like the person who is listening to you think that you're stupid just because I have an accent. And that goes with all the prejudice of different things, right? Yes, Savitri.
Hi, it's so good to be here. I just wanted to follow on from what Cheryl was saying. In my experience here, I live in. I'm also a white middle class lady, and lots of white middle class ladies around me do yoga. I live in the countryside, so we don't have very much diversity, although that is increasing. But what I've noticed a lot is that the people who come for special yoga tend not to be white British people. They tend to be Asian, European. There is something about our yoga. I've worked with far more people who are not British than local English people. I don't know whether that's just our attitude to yoga in this country. But I find that interesting that generally people from Poland, Ukraine, Romania, France, a lot of the people I'm working with are not British.
We have a minute to go, Sridevi, so go ahead.
Just wanted to mention that it's really so wonderful to have that conversation opening, because also here in London we have been witnessing a lot of shift and movements in our community, and more we have diversity in color and nationality. And I have had that conversation about bringing yoga to the community of different color and nationality, with majority of the staff, and with Ben, who is actually also mixed race, and with a couple of our students that we have been talking to who are of different origin, them from Africa, Ethiopia, Ghana, Uganda. And one thing that really struck me that really kind of impacted on me when I was talking to them, is they were saying that they have culture that is very vibrant and very rich and alive, and their culture, it really supports them. They supports their community, and they were very grateful for the fact that as soon as we kind of started talking about culture, I got so interested, because learning about someone else's culture is actually fascinating. And there was this appreciation for the fact that we were not just trying to not necessarily sell them, but give them something. But it was more about, wow, tell me about who you are. What is this ritual in your country? What does this mean to you? Oh, how do you do this? This kind of curiosity about what they bring to the table themselves really empowers them, and all of a sudden creates a bridge between what we're trying what we share and what they share, and then we find a middle ground where a beautiful exchange can take place. So I don't know whether that's any helpful, but it seemed very helpful for us, because that all of a sudden opened the doors to even more people of color to come to us. And now we have, out of the 118 families that we see, about 40 of them are of color. And I absolutely love it. We have a girls class. Every single girl in the class is of color. Even the teacher is of color, and it's beautiful.
That is very nice. Like we have to go and close this. I have 7 minutes. Go ahead, Lakshmi.
Sridevi, I think it's because of the approach. When you approach the person as a person with respect, trying to know the person as who she really is, and then if you mention that even the teacher is a teacher of color, I think this is very important, at least at the beginning. Maybe later we can unify and mix colors, but at the beginning, I think the fact that at least they see that the teacher is a teacher of color, and that you really want to know more about who they are, I think is the right approach.
Yes, I agree with you. Yeah, and one last thing just to close. Our attitude, in a sense of really cleaning up all the past concepts and traumas and whatever, because sometimes you see a lot. Oh, I don't know how. I see a child with special needs, that people don't know how to approach the child, and that's because you are trying to think about, you're acting with prejudice. That's basically what it is. You're judging. But if you just approach the person as a person, just like Lakshmi said, and so that's different. That shifts things. And I would encourage you to do it with anyone, even with people that you don't agree with, because nowadays we have been having people who, like in our communities, we have people who are against the vaccine, is anti-vaccine. There are the people who I don't know, and there are people who are really pro-vaccine, and it's not right or wrong, it's just choices. And if you kind of embrace it in an open way and with open arms, that will make a conversation much more interesting, because you're going to say, okay, so they don't, that's the reason why they don't accept. And you don't go with, I want to try to convince this person that this is what they need to do. So it shifts the conversation. And I guess that is the starting point that we have to have in order to try to embrace and bring those people to us, is really have an open heart and go with that unconditional love that Shiva Comes talks so much. Okay, I guess we're gonna close now. We're gonna see about you guys in about 5 minutes.